Hello, Loving Without Boundaries community. Happy New Year. I believe this is our first Facebook Live together here with B in our dynamic duo here with Loving Without Boundaries for the year. And we always want to start out by just saying we are glad that you are here, getting the support and the guidance and the tools and the everything that you need, the clarity about living your most authentic life, even when you are coloring outside the lines of heteronormative monogamy. We know that it can be a challenging world out there, a lot of sex negative views and just spaces where you may not feel accepted or appreciated or loved for exactly who you are. And so we do our best here at Loving Without Boundaries to create that type of space for you. So if you are seeing this on YouTube and you're not part of our community, please feel free to find us on Facebook. If you do a search for Loving Without Boundaries and healthy open relationships and lifestyle freedom, we are happy to wrap our arms around you. There is close to 14,000 people in our community who are enjoying being around like-minded peers who understand that it's important to find your people who understand the challenges and the ups and downs and even the emotional roller coaster that we can find ourselves sometimes when we are practicing open relationships or polyamory or relationship anarchy or whatever your most authentic life looks to you. Also, if you're just curious about that lifestyle, this is a great easy place to start, to just join a free community to find that support and get your questions answered. So with that, we're going to start our topic off today that the wonderful B, who is part of our team here, came up with, which is from resolutions to solutions, which is a wonderful thing for us to talk about here at the beginning of the year, because we all know that a lot of people will make our goals and set those things on January 1st or January 2nd. And we might start out with a lot of fervor and ambition and energy, but then we start to peter out, sometimes by the middle of February. So I'd love to just hear your take on this, B, in terms of why this topic was important to you and get us started here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kitty, for starting us off. So why this topic? It's because it's relevant to the time of the year that we're in. As you laid this out, Kitty, so beautifully, is that I'm sure that many of you are really familiar with this particular drill, that we're so incredibly enthusiastic, setting really ambitious goals for ourselves at the beginning of the new year with the motto that this is a new year, a new me. And as time passes, the enthusiasm fades, we get more and more conflicted, and we really bump into blocks on the path to achieving our goals, and that can end up in disappointment. And how this is relevant to our consensually non-monogamous relationships, because everything that affects our sense of well-being or satisfaction is closely tied to how we show up in our relationships, how we perceive our lives. And when we're able to expand, evolve, and grow, that's going to contribute positively to our relationships as well, creating a really positive feedback loop where our relationships can flourish. But sadly, as we touched on, and I'm definitely familiar with this particular phenomenon, setting these really ambitious goals, this was definitely true for me in the past, that I didn't follow through. I first want to touch on a little bit how this might show up in the individual, as how this affects our sense of well-being. So Kitty, you brought up this word emotional roller coaster, and that's definitely a highly relevant word when it comes to unmet goals. So if we're not able to execute our goals, and possibly repeatedly, that space in us can trigger a cascade of disempowering emotions. For example, self-doubt, when we start questioning our capabilities, and this leading to a pervasive sense of inadequacy, which later with time and with more repetition can evolve into a lack of self-trust in ourselves when we enter into that space in our mindset and in our nervous system at large, where we really struggle to believe that we can achieve anything significant. I want to break it down a little bit further, because I know that many in this community and in the human condition are familiar with the sensation of self-doubt and lack of self-trust. But as we keep saying, transformation happens in the specific and not in the general. So the more we can pinpoint what are those thoughts that keep swirling in our heads, that keep us awake at night, the bigger the chance that we can find the right strategy to create powerful transformation, powerful and lasting transformation there. So a few limiting beliefs, and I'm curious if you enter into the self-reflective moments, if you can find relevance to any of these beliefs that got created as a result of failed goal achievement. So some common beliefs is that anything I set my mind to is something that I can't achieve. So I'm not capable of achieving what I set out to do. Or another example could be that expressing my needs and my desires will result in rejection and disappointment, or expressing who I am or what I am is a sure way of experiencing failure. Or we may project our internal lack of self-trust onto other people as well, that if I'm found out how much of a failure I am, then it's going to lead to others losing interest in me, let it be our friends or our romantic interest or our partners. And I want to give you a personal example here. To me, this particular belief was so deeply rooted in the core image, the disempowering core image that I built in myself, about myself, that this resulted for me ending up in codependent relationship patterns for more than a decade, because my core image was that I can't possibly create better than that, and I don't deserve better than that. So I wasn't in alignment with who I felt myself underneath this core image, because this core image really took over. And with repetition, I keep building the emotional charge up to a degree that it landed me in a really painful place in my life, and in relationships that were no win-win scenario for any of us participating in those relationships. So I really want to highlight something really important. Our relationship with ourselves, how we see ourselves, this core image that I talked about, how I see myself, is gonna be something that lays the foundation for our relationship with other people. And when we contract, we don't connect. So in addition to feeling poorly about ourselves, sadly, this is likely to have a ripple effect in our relationship, including our consensual monogamous relationships. There's so much complexity in this particular lifestyle when we're very often at the place of having to face our very worst fears of abandonment and rejection, and that we don't matter. And if we add to that particular complexity that I'm feeling inside, I don't have that sense of capability and agency, that can create a really painful feedback loop in our relationship. For example, how we show up in communication. Because if I feel that my needs don't matter, or it doesn't matter what I want, I can't achieve it, it's likely that my communication is not going to be clear around my needs and desires, and that can result in poor boundaries and possibly a relationship that's codependent or has a relationship, a power imbalance. Or something that we don't always think about is if we're either in a place of like higher energy, frustration, anger, or this lower spiral when we go into depressive states or sadness, our nervous system unintentionally is giving out clues to other people's nervous system that it's not safe to be around us. It's not going on at a conscious level, but that can put people on the defensive, in addition to creating certain disempowering stories of their own, because the brain's natural function is that we know a few pieces of the puzzle, we see that, and that's also true when we enter into new relationship energy. But if we stay with, we collapse, we're unable to keep eye contact, for example, in the conversation. That's something that our partners observe, and their brain starts to fill out the gaps, that there's something wrong with the relationship. My partner experiences something about me that's negative. This is the end of us. Something's happening that we're losing control over. So it's really important to pinpoint the particular beliefs and thoughts that contribute to our disempowering states and this self-doubt, plus how we show up in our relationship, either in subtle ways or more pronounced ways.
Thank you for that, B. You always have such an amazing way of explaining things, and I always love to hear your accent. So, but yes, also to just really touch on that idea of new year, new start, resolutions. Just know that hundreds and hundreds of people, we all do goal setting. We all say, hey, I want to be a better version of me. I'm going to start the year off right. So hundreds of people at the same time as they do that give up on their goals on a daily basis, whether they do it in January or February or later in the year. And there's lots of different reasons why people may do that. And one is because they may realize quickly after starting their journeys that they're alone. They don't have anybody really supporting them, which is why being here in our community is so important. They also may have, number two, no one pushing them when they start to make excuses. That's why, again, community is important. Having a mentor or a coach or somebody in your corner who really cares about you is important. And number three, no one is also patting them on the back when they hit a milestone. So if you're creating really amazing things in your life in a vacuum and there isn't somebody kind of encouraging you and saying, hi, yeah, high five, way to go, that's another reason that it can really be detrimental and not give you the fuel, the momentum, the gas to continue moving forward. And actually, the last reason is if you haven't taken the time, or a coach or a mentor hasn't sat with you to help take the time with you to figure out what is your why. Why is this important? Because that why, getting in touch with your values, your heart, that's what will give you the juice and the jet fuel when the going gets tough, because that's always going to happen, that life will get in the way. Things will challenge you along the way to your goals, because if your goals were easy, then we'd all have already met all of our goals, but our goals can be challenging. It's going to take work. So being in a pack with other people or having a mentor or coach in your corner is really, really important. And I want to honor all of you, because just by you even being here in our community, being here watching this Facebook Live, it shows your resilience, it shows your desire for growth, and that you're ready to really do something about your life. Put your head down, take charge of it, find happiness, find well-being in yourself, because the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself, and also have well-being in your relationships with other people. And I often say we weren't taught how to be in a healthy monogamous relationship, let alone taught how to be in an untraditional style relationships. And we all can use help at different points and junctures of our lives. And it really takes courage to raise your hand and say, please help me. And just to share a story from my own life, I have had definitely some really important junctures in my own life. For me, my life was pretty smooth sailing in a lot of ways up until, I would say, my mid to late 30s. And there I started to deal with a bunch of losses. First, my father got cancer and was in the hospital for 6 months. And it was a really grueling period that started to send me into depression. Then I also found out that my husband and I couldn't have children. We were infertile, and we had to go down that journey of failed infertility treatments. Then I also lost my mother from old age and dementia and various other things. And some other things happened in our business lives and our personal lives that were challenging. So I got to a place where I needed to raise my hand and ask for help. And that wasn't necessarily a resolution that I made at the beginning of the year. That was just me dealing with life. But I did need to reach out and find a therapist at that time to help me navigate. And I did, and so and also like starting your own business, being an entrepreneur, that is really important to really get the help that you need. So I have coaches that I work with, and it's the first of the year, and the first thing they do is say, what do you want this year? Why is that important to you? Let's get you in touch with what that is for you. And now, what beliefs do you need to have in order to achieve that goal? How do you need to call forth the best version of you, what I call your superhero empowered identity? And now let's come up with a plan and a set of strategy and action steps to really get you where you need to be. So working with the right person for you can be super important, so that you set your goals, you figure out who you want to be, who you need to become to achieve those goals. Then what beliefs do you need to have to get there? And then from that empowered place, from that full cup, then you can start to outline a strategy to get there. So B, I just want to really applaud you for bringing up this really important topic that I'm sure is resonating with a lot of people who are watching here today. And is there any maybe personal story that you can add from your own life of how you set a goal or you made a resolution and either you kind of fell off the path or how you got back on again?
Well, I'm gonna celebrate the 30th anniversary in a few days when I said yes to you back then. When my goal was to create happiness and health in my very first non-monogamous relationship. Back then, I had absolutely no tools and no skill set, and I definitely raised my hand because I realized that I can't do this on my own. I certainly tapped into before, like I was very much into self-help, books and videos and the rest, but I didn't know about what we call this 20/80 rule. Like you can have the best strategy in the world, which is like the 20%, but if your mindset is not aligned, if your belief system, if your emotional state is not aligned, that you're likely not gonna execute. So to me, that was absolutely a life-changing moment to reach out to someone who helped me read my label on my jar and help me with accountability and consistent and help me pinpoint those particular things that really held me back. So I loved how you highlighted that connected to the why is incredibly important, plus understanding where we have those blockages. So it all starts with self-awareness. What are my needs? What are my values? Where am I getting stuck? And then if we notice that we're more on the spectrum of being stuck in a fixed mindset, when a tiny failure means the end of the world and that I'm unlovable, it's really worth to find a professional who can help us keep consistent with growth mindset. So there's this consistent support and accountability and someone cheering for us. As I believe that's coming from Tony Robbins, and I really love that to have a breakthrough and set of breakthroughs, you gotta have three things right. It's your strategy, it's your emotional state, and your story. And your story also includes the story about yourself, what you keep telling to yourself, what's your story about the world, what's your story about other people, what's your story about relationships. And working with a professional can really help to pinpoint the specifics of our stories that need powerful transformation. So to me, that was an absolutely turning point in my life to reach out to you back then. And since I've had my own mentors as well, because it's really important to have someone from the outside on occasion to help me see something that I don't see from the inside. And that's been incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that story. And I can't believe, is it 3 years then? In a couple of days, it'll be 3 years. 3 years. Wow, that's incredible. So yeah, so 3 years ago in a couple of days is when B first reached out, when she was at that turning point in her life where she realized this can't go on like this. Something needs to change. And she raised her hand and said that she needs help. And there's absolutely no shame in raising your hand, asking for help from somebody that resonates with you, who you can feel their heart, you can tell they have your best interests in their mind's eye. They've got your back. They're ready to wrap their arm around you. It's the way I like to think of coaching is we're partnering. I'm wrapping my arm around you as if we're like, in a Starbucks having a cup of coffee, and you're telling me what's going on, and I'm sitting there helping you close the gap from where you are now to where you want to be. So yeah, just to talk about this in terms of how to get to the other side of this, and thanks for sharing that, B. You absolutely can find a way to have a coach or anybody, a mentor, a therapist, or whoever resonates with you, to help you come up with a path that works for you. I love this quote from Denzel Washington, that to get something you never had, you've got to do something you never did. And a lot of people maybe aren't used to finding the right mentor or coach to work with them. But if you put in the work, I really do believe that no one can deny you. No one can stop you from living your most authentic life in a way that works for you. That is so empowering to know that you are at choice to find the right person to work for you. But first, you need to decide and declare what that best version of you looks like, and then decide that you're going to do everything it takes to get there. Life always gives you a second chance. You know what it's called? I love this. Tomorrow, right? But you can also step into that today or tomorrow, and just ask yourself, am I going to repeat my history, or am I going to blaze a new trail? And a lot of that is about tapping into your mindset, which can be partly that story that B was talking about, learning how to move up the emotional scale from powerlessness and apathy up to optimism and hope and joy, and then figuring out what are your goals, what's the outcome you want, what's your why, which is also your purpose, and finding the right person to work with to help you get there can change everything, can be a total game changer. So anything else you'd like to add there, just in terms of how to get to the other side of this, B?
Yeah, I love that quote that you shared, and I have another quote that really resonates with me. It's, believe you can, and you're halfway there.
Oh, I
So
love that.
there's an infinite power in the belief systems that we hold, and I also want to share something that from that place of disempowerment, when I was like 3 years ago, that nothing happens. I absolutely have no sense of personal agency and create the life that I want. I turn into that, you know what? This is absolutely doable. And no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. And goal achievement doesn't always have to be like swimming upstream and the struggle as if I was rolling up a rock in a high mountain. It can be fun, pleasurable, and done in a community as well, with extra accountability and raising each other's vibes.
Mhm. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. Yeah. So if any of this is resonating with you, if you are needing support, if we're getting you fired up, if you're like, yes, I have my resolutions, I don't know how to get to where I want to go in my relationships, including the relationship with yourself, if you're dealing with either low confidence, low self-esteem, if you realize that you don't have the tools that you need to succeed in living your most authentic life, then I do encourage you to reach out, raise your hand, and say, hey, let's have a conversation. It all starts with that. That's how it started with B. And you can go to this link that I just put on the screen, lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. That simply takes you into my calendar. Just find a time that works there for you. I do have some time slots still available this week. There'll be a brief form for you to fill out that just sets us up for success in that conversation. And then we'll just get on that call. We'll talk about what you're struggling with, what's alive for you right now, and I'll see if I can help you. And if I think I can, we'll talk about a roadmap forward of what that might look like. And if the timing's off or it doesn't feel like it's the right fit, I will let you know that as well. And I will do my level best to steer you in the best direction for you, so that you get the support that you need, whether that's me or whether that's somebody else. So anything else that you'd like to share, B?
I simply just want to encourage everyone to allow yourself to let this be that year when you become unstoppable, to create that really powerful mindset that no matter what happens in my life, in my relationships, I'm going to be okay and I'm going to thrive. I'm going to make a gift of that because it's all possible.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, B. And yeah, I like to say that the work I do here and alongside B, who is a part of the team, and we are honored and just so happy that you are here, B, is that we are helping people live their most authentic lives, free from guilt and shame, free from jealousy and insecurity or low self-confidence, also free from the pain of infidelity or broken agreements in the open relationships and sex positive space, so that they do feel unstoppable, just like B said, and they fall back in love with themselves. And we're really passionate about doing that work. So I hope you can feel our heart when we say that. We really mean that from the bottom of our heart, our soul. We are glad that you are here. So with that, B, thank you for bringing this important topic to us. And we will simply say Happy New Year. And we look forward to speaking to you soon, whether that's on a free breakthrough session at that link, lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply, or if it's on another Facebook Live here in our beautiful Loving Without Boundaries closed Facebook group. So with that, we'll say bye for now and talk to you really soon.